So who won? Haftarat Ki Tisa. Haftarat Ki Tisa is enjoyable because it invites me to engage with something other than the question of the connection between the parasha and the haftarah. The various reading customs invite us to refine the subject of the haftarah from different reading perspectives. Why is this good? First, because it's fun, and second, because it might teach us something we didn't know. Before examining the haftarot themselves, let's note that the three customs we'll discuss today revolve about the same story in Melachim Perek Yudchet. This story usually earns the title Eliyah on Har HaKarmel. The differences between the communities relate only to where we join the story and where we leave it. The Sfaradim, the community that reads the shortest haftarah this week, will begin the haftarah at Pasuk Kaf and end at Pasuk Lamed Tet. The Ashkenazim start in Pasuk Aleph and also in Pasuk Lamed Tet, and the Teimanim begin with the Ashkenazim but end their reading at Pasuk Mem Hey. Ready? Let's begin. The suggested title, Eliyahu Behar HaKarmel, suits the Sephardic version. Achav gathers all the prophets of Baal and Asherah from all of Israel, and Eliyahu presents them with the competition rules. Facing the contestants, Eliyahu and the prophets of the Baal, there are two bulls, two altars, and wood, but no fire. The contestant, whose offering is consumed by fire descending from heaven, is the winner, and his God is the true God. The terms are accepted by the people, and Baal's prophets call out loudly until the afternoon, but en kol ve'en oneh en kashev. There are no answers. At noon, Eliyahu mocks the Baal prophets and takes their place. Dramatically, he pours water on the slaughtered bulls and fills the trenches about the altar with water, calls upon Hashem, and Hashem answers him with fire from heaven. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, Hashem is God, Hashem is God. This story has a hero, Eliyahu, and villains, the Baal prophets. There are also secondary characters in the story. There's Achav, whose role begins and ends in the first verse of the haftarah. He gathers the prophets. There are the spectators, the people. Their role is to applaud the winner. There's even Hashem, who seemingly needs Eliyahu to rescue him and bring the people back to his worship. This story rightly earns the title Eliyahu and Har HaKarmel. Eliyahu is its entire focus. True, he calls upon Hashem and asks for his help. True, the people will ultimately choose Hashem over Baal, but this is the story of Eliyahu's great moment on Har Carmel. The Ashkenazim don't accept this story I just told. For them, the story begins about 20 verses earlier, and we discover that Hashem isn't a passive character. Eliyahu did not initiate the meeting himself. It was Hashem's initiative. He whom we thought Eliyahu felt the need to rescue in the previous haftarah. However, Eliyahu is not passive either. Hashem sent him to update Achav that rain was about to fall. Eliyahu was the one who chose to invite the prophets of Baal to a duel that ends in the cry, Hashem hu Elokim, Hashem hu Elokim. What leads Eliyahu from go show yourself to Achav and I will give rain on the face of the earth to a mega metaphysical confrontation? A seemingly innocent meeting between Eliyahu and Ovadiah, he who is in charge of the palace. A meeting that changes the main villain. Hashem's worshippers don't just disappear, and the worship of Baal didn't just spread. Izebel, under Achav's protection, her husband, killed Hashem's prophets and encourages the prophets of Baal. Achav's presence is strongly felt in the chapter. Compared to the single time he's mentioned between verses 20 and 39, he appears 11 times at the beginning of the chapter. The prophets of Baal didn't just appear. Izebel invites them and makes room for them. Eliyahu feels it's impossible to show himself to Achav and bring rain, so he takes matter into his own hands. The story's climax is still Eliyahu and Har Carmel, but a better title to the entire haftarah might be Achav and Eliyahu head to head. The question that remains unanswered is who wins in this haftarah. At first glance, Eliyahu wins in Hashem's name. The closing proclamation is, after all, Hashem is God, Hashem is God. The problem is that this wasn't the mission Hashem gave him. Hashem defined the victory conditions at the beginning of the haftarah. Show yourself to Achav and I will give rain. Not show yourself to Achav and ridicule the prophets of Baal. Eliyahu defeats Achav, but Hashem's original will is not fulfilled in the haftarah. Now we come to the Teimanim's haftarah, which closes the circle. The Haftarah begins with Eliyahu's mission to show himself to Achav, but doesn't end with the proclamation Hashem is God. Eliyahu slaughters the prophets of Baal and sends Achav to eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain. Eventually, Eliyahu prays for rain and sends Achav home to Israel. This Haftarah might deserve the title, The Sound of Abundant Rain. The story of this Haftarah is the embodiment of Hashem's will in the return of the rain, despite the secondary story of Mount Carmel. Who is the winner in this Haftarah? The obvious winner is Hashem, and the clear losers are the prophets of Baal. What about the secondary characters? The role that narrative leaves for Eliyahu and Achav? I'm not sure. True, Achav's wife's prophets are dead, but he gets the rain he was waiting for. He rides like a king to Israel after eating and drinking. Eliyahu, on the other hand, sits with his face between his knees and sends a servant 7 times before the rain begins. On the other hand, we can't ignore the confident face he shows to Achav and the great victory over Baal's prophets. Finally, it's interesting to note the part that even the Teimanim omitted. The honor Eliyahu gives Achav by running before his chariot, the loneliness Eliyahu finds himself in the next chapter, the declaration that leads to the drought at the beginning of Perek Yud Zayin. The title of the Haftarah is not the stories of Eliyahu. It filters and chooses the parts it wishes to present. What does this say about the light in which each Haftarah presents the parasha? Fortunately, this time, I managed to escape this question entirely. You'll have to try to provide the answers to this question yourself. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In memory of my beloved and heroic student, Amichai Shimon ben Ishai and Batya Rubin Hashem Yikom Damo, Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh.